Hello, I'm Sheron, and welcome to Courtenay Recreation. I'm here in the activity room today to record another video for you. Today we're going to work with a gentle yoga practice. It'll be all down on the floor. We're going to work with some chest openers a little bit later on. So you might want to have either a blanket that you can fold up, or a yoga bolster, or perhaps even one or two of these chip blocks. We're going to begin with some strap work as well. So something that you can loop around your foot and hold onto with your hands. So it doesn't have to be a yoga strap. It could be a tie or maybe a belt from your jacket or something. So something that you can work with that's easy to hold onto and long enough to lengthen your leg away from your body. So once you have those things on hand, go ahead and find your way into any comfortable position, seated or lying down. We'll begin with a short check-in and a little bit of breath work. Let's begin with a breath in and let it go with a sigh. And let's begin by checking in with the head and the face. So noticing sensation of the skin of the face, the muscles, noticing the eyes, the fronts of the eyes and the backs. And we're simply looking for what sensation is present right here, right now. If you notice that there is tension, feel free to release it or offer an invitation of relaxation. And sensation inside the mouth, the tongue, and in particular the jaw, upper and lower. Shifting your attention inside the head, and feeling both sides of the brain, the right side of the brain, and the left side of the brain. Sensation in the scalp, the neck and throat. Noticing sensation in the arms, so from the shoulders all the way down through the bones, the muscles, the joints, down into the hands, into the tips of the fingers and thumbs. And noticing sensation present in the chest cavity, the abdominal cavity, and then the musculature of the front, sides, and back part of this part of the body, the spine, the ribs, the skin, so inside and out. Sensation in the legs, all the way from the hips down to the tips of the toes, through the bones, the muscles, the joints, the skin. Noticing sensation in the legs. And then shifting attention to focusing on the sensation of the breath right now. What is happening with your breath? Without feeling the need to change it or fix it, can you simply allow it to be as it is and observe for a moment? Feeling the breath enter the body and feeling the breath exit the body. And then let's start to guide or move the breath around. And let's come into a full torso breath. If it's helpful, you can bring one hand onto the chest and one onto the belly to feel the movement. As you inhale, feel breath right down to the very base of the pelvic bowl and right up to the tops of the collarbones. First couple of breaths, let it be exaggerated so that you can feel all the possibilities of breath movement in your body, both on the inhale and the exhale. Expanding outwards in all directions on the inhales, and softly contracting or shrinking inward on the exhales. And then let your breath shift to something that feels a little softer, a little easier. Still a fairly deep breath, but not so deep that you feel that it takes all of your attention and energy and focus. A breath that hopefully helps you to feel enlivened, but still a little relaxed. Couple more. And then let a breath in and let it go. All right. We're going to begin on our back, so if you're not already there, find your way onto your back. We'll also be using a strap. If you need some height under your head, you could use a folded blanket or a chip block. When you initially get your way down onto the floor here, see if there's any movements that would like to happen right off the bat. My favorite is almost always knees into the chest for a hug and adding a gentle rock. This seems to help to release tension out of my low back and warm up the back body as well, and the hips. So maybe another 5 to 7 breaths, just allowing anything to happen that feels just right for your body. And then let's grab hold of the strap, wrap it around one foot, send that foot up to the sky. So the knee of the other leg will stay bent so the foot can be flat on the floor to begin. Once we've been here for a little while, if you'd like to shift and let this leg lengthen onto the floor, please do so. So find first the way to hold the strap. Is it keeping the arms on the floor, holding the strap down by the body? Is it holding the strap up high near the foot? Is it wrapping the strap around the hands? So what feels stable and comfortable for you? And then we're going to simply pause here to begin and focus on the breath. Maybe 3, 4 breaths. Letting go of any unnecessary tension. Experiencing this position. And then let's switch sides. So bringing the other foot into the strap, releasing the other one back down onto the floor. Same thing, knee bent, foot on the floor, and make any modifications to your position or the way that you're holding the strap. And then once you have things in place, pause, connect with your breath, and noticing the sensation here of the body on the floor, leg up, supported by the strap. And let's return to side one. So I'm going to keep my knee bent with the foot on the floor, but if it feels good to do so, you could also extend your leg out or lengthen it out onto the floor. We're going to come into two different sways, a left and right and a forward and back. And you can mix them together, or you can work with one maybe 2 or 3 times and then switch to the other. So this isn't a fast movement, it's not aggressive, it's a gentle movement. Use the strap not only as a guide, but as a support. Going to the range of motion that feels available for you. It's not necessarily about how far you go, more about exploring sensation and noticing that the way the body moves. Where do you feel this movement in your body? So in a moment, I'll get you to switch sides. I'm going to change my position just so that you can see this from a different angle. So let's switch sides. Foot into the strap, leg up towards the sky. Figuring out how to hold. Are you keeping the other leg knee bent, or is the leg extended? And then we have our two sways. So leg moving away from you and towards you. And leg moving from side to side or left to right. Exploring sensation in this movement, exploring range of motion. And again, you can alternate from side to side after each round, or you can do a few and then switch. Mix them all together if that feels good. Good, last one, and then removing the strap, placing it off to the side. I'm just going to turn myself to the side again. So we're still going to be on our back here for a couple more poses. You might want now a chip block or a dense block. You could also use a folded blanket. We'll want some height underneath the buttocks. So I'm going to come back onto my back here. And I'm going to begin without height under the pelvis. So the windmill pose, bringing one knee into the chest and then one leg extends out onto the floor. Whichever leg has extended, that arm also reaches into the space behind you. We pause here for a moment. And then we switch sides. Knee comes in, the other leg now lengthens onto the floor and the arm lengthens into the space behind, and we pause. And then you can decide what sort of pacing and depth you'd like to go with this. Faster is going to be a little more awakening, sometimes harder to pay attention to specific parts of the body, especially if they need care. So slower might be a nicer option. Slower also keeps that kind of grounded and calm feeling in the body. And let's call this last round. And now we want to bring some height under the buttocks. So however much height and whatever surface you'd like to rest on. So make sure that it feels like the back of the pelvic bowl is being supported completely by whatever object is underneath. You could even use a bolster here. So we're going to begin here in this supported little bridge pose, this modified little bridge pose, and just breathe a few breaths right down into the belly, right down into the pelvic bowl. And then similar to the movement that we were just doing with the windmill pose, we'll bring that in here. So one knee will come into the chest. I can hold onto the knee or the back of the thigh. And the other leg is going to extend on the floor. Again, I'll pause here for a moment. Slowly come out and switch sides. Leg lengthens onto the floor. Other knee comes into the chest. And here again, you can decide what sort of pacing you'd like to do. We want to make sure that the breath feels even and smooth. We want to make sure that we're not gripping. So if you feel that gripping or grabbing happening, check your position. Maybe something needs to shift. Sometimes slowing it down can help with that as well. And let's call this last round. And then end with that same place that we were just a moment ago, with variation of the supported little bridge. Pause here for a couple more breaths, breathing down into the belly. Pressing your feet into the floor, letting the hips rise up, sliding that block or bolster or blanket out from underneath. Slowly lower the hips back down. Pause there for a moment when the hips touch. And then bring the knees into the chest. Add a rock from side to side, or maybe make some circles, maybe a little bit of both. Then find your way up to any comfortable seated position, whatever that looks like for you and your body today. We'll move through some of our warm-up poses that we do every class from the joint series. Let's start off with the spine. Seated twist, one hand beside or behind, the other onto opposite thigh or knee, and slowly bring yourself into a twist. Gently bring yourself out, head over to the other side. Let's do this 2 more times on each side, letting your breath flow freely. Relax your jaw. If you tend to sit cross-legged quite a lot in sitting poses, every once in a while switch the crossing. Change things up with the hips. So last one here. And then hand onto the side for side bend, rounding over, and then stacking the vertebrae to come up. You can also add the sweeping arm if that feels available for your body today. Good, last one. And spinal wave. Allowing the back body to lengthen and round into the space behind you while the front body shrinks. Sending the front body forward, lengthening, opening the heart. And allow your breath to flow with you. And one more. Excellent. Let's move into the shoulders with some easy circles. And reverse. Let's do the same for the hands. And reverse. Good, so we're going to continue with upper body awareness here for a moment. We're going to work with some shoulder shrugs. And I'll do this from a couple different angles so that you can see what the difference between the shrugs are. So the first one, my body is just in a neutral position. I'm not moving the shoulders forward or back. I'm simply lifting them up towards the ears. I'm going to pause, lower down. We'll do that a couple times. And then I'm going to bring the shoulders back just a little bit. So it's not pulling the shoulders hard back. It's just moving them softly into the space behind. We'll lift, come back down, and then we're going to move again, bringing the shoulders back. So I'll just do this from the side so you get an idea of what it will look like. And then we'll do it together. So I start off in neutral with the shoulder shrugs. And then I move back a tiny bit, lift up. And then a tiny bit more. So I want to move the shoulders back in increments so that we're going to do about 3 of those, 3 different variations. So we want to make sure that we actually have room to move the shoulders back and we're not going right to our maximum. All right, so let's start off here with the body in neutral, shoulders in neutral. Lift the shoulders straight up towards the sky and pause. And then slowly lower back down. And then let's repeat that. Shoulders lift up, pause, and release. And now move the shoulders back just a tiny bit and lift straight up as best as you can. And release. And let's do that again. If the shoulders came forward, let them gently nudge back and lift and release. Now move them back a little bit further. Shoulders back and lift up and release. And one more of those, shoulders back and then up and release. And one last time, so now drawing the shoulders back a little further, lifting the shoulders up, pause. This can be intense, breathe deeply. Good, gently release, and then one last one of those as well. Shoulders back and lift up. Good, and release. Shake the shoulders out. All right, so bring the hands beside, or the arms beside you and the palms facing each other. And then allow your upper arms to rotate so that your hands turn outward. I'm going to pause there for a moment. We'll build on this each time as well. And then let the hands come forward. And let's repeat that, rotating the upper arms. As you're doing this, make sure that the shoulders are not collapsing forward, so we're still in that neutral position. Good, and release. And this time now, as you rotate the upper arms, let the shoulders slide back just a little bit. Good, and release. And let's repeat that again. Rotate the upper arms, slide the shoulders back. So it'll feel like we're opening and widening the chest a little more. Good. Last one of those. Rotate the upper arms, send the shoulders back, and this time allow your chest to come forward. You might even look up slightly. Good. Gently release. This time wrap your arms around your torso and let your gaze look down towards the floor. And let's repeat that. So arms, upper arm bones rotate, chest opens, shoulders back. And then let's bring the arms in the opposite pattern. Rounding, looking towards the floor. And release. Ah, lovely. All right, for this next chest opener, we're going to again be sitting on the floor. You can be sitting on a block or just on the floor. If you are sitting in hero pose, you might want to shift to a different position or make sure that you can easily reach your hands into the space behind you. Otherwise, if you're sitting closer to the ground, that might not be the issue. So we're going to bring our hands behind us, and as we're doing that, we're going to rotate the arms a little, a lot, what feels comfortable for you. We want to make sure again that the shoulders aren't being pulled forward, so we're very gently drawing the shoulders back as we're rotating the arms out. You can just rest the fingertips on the floor, you can come flat on the floor, or again you can be up on hands on blocks if that's helpful. And we're going to lengthen the spine and open the front body, softly rooting the hands into the floor. Throat is soft, jaw is soft. And one more breath here. Belly softly into the spine. Feel your back body moving into the space behind you. Let your hands come somewhere onto your legs and just allow your spine to go into that opposite pattern of movement. And gently release. One more movement here. We're going to come into another seated twist. So you can be sitting in any position, perhaps change it up. So if you were sitting in cross-legged, maybe you sit in hero pose. If you're sitting in hero, maybe you switch to legs extended forward. So if you have another position within your body's repertoire, then go ahead and shift that. So again, one hand will come beside or behind, the other onto opposite thigh or knee. Slowly come into the twist. This time though, we're going to pause and hold the twist and breathe into the whole torso, like we were doing at the very beginning of our practice. So breathing into the chest and the belly. One more of those breaths. Slowly unwinding, heading over to the other side. When you get there, breathing into the belly, breathing into the chest. Good, gently release. And if you aren't already, sit with your legs extended forward for a moment, and let's bring some movement into the legs, the knees, the hips, and the feet. It can be any sort of movement that feels good here. So bring some attention down into the lower half of the body for a moment. All right, so from here we're going to transition onto chest and belly for the Sphinx pose and crocodile. We have some variations here, and I'll go through those with you. I'll do this in a couple different directions, and please feel free to do this in your own pacing and timing. So it's very much about what works for you today. So crocodile, normally we're lying on our chest and belly with the forearms folded and the forehead resting on the forearms. But an alternative to that could be using a block or a cushion under the forehead and then bringing the arms out to the sides. And this is where we'll begin, and then we'll pause here for a few breaths, and then we'll come into Sphinx pose. And so for Sphinx pose, we're going to come in step by step or piece by piece. So I'll lift my head up off the support, and then I'll slowly start to walk my elbows in towards each other. Hands are anywhere that feels comfortable, palms up, palms down, palms touching. I'll pause here for a moment, and then I'll move back down to crocodile, moving the elbows out to the sides, and then coming back to your version of crocodile. So I'll do this from forward facing as well so that you can see the difference, and just keep going at your own pace here and your own depth. The pause might just be a breath. The pause might be 3 breaths. The transition might take 5 breaths to come in and out, or it might be 2 breaths. So it's very much working with what your body feels is appropriate. Think of it as trying to find easy, fluid movement rather than being tight, holding the breath. So we want to make this transition from Sphinx to crocodile and back to be part of the yoga pose as well. If you are stacking forearms, you might also try next time to stack the forearms in the opposite direction. And in Sphinx, if you've been working with palms up, try palms down perhaps, or bring the palms together. So it's an easy, gliding movement if possible. And last round. And we'll end on chest and belly. So slowly make your way all the way down, and then decide how you'd like to rest here. If you find crocodile pose to be comfortable, you might just stay here. You might also bring your forehead onto the floor and your arms out to the side or beside your body. You could even turn your head to the side if that feels comfortable. Let a breath in and let it go. Lift the feet up off the floor and let the legs sway from left to right with windshield wiper pose. So we have a couple ways of getting out of this position here. The most low back friendly is to roll onto your side. So a side that you're rolling onto, make sure the arm is out of the way. Gently push yourself onto your side. I like to bring both knees bent and then press up from there. You can also come up through the cobras. So if you're comfortable with back bends, from the position on chest and belly, hands underneath the shoulders, softly rooting through the hands, lifting up. I'm going in slow motion. You can move this a little faster, but I'd like you just to see here. And then at this point, I'm going to bring belly into the spine, lift the hips up, and send them back into perhaps child's pose. I could also come onto hands and knees for some cat-cow. I could also come onto my back and bring my knees into my chest for a hug. So anything that allows the spine to come into that reverse position. Few breaths of any of those counter movements. When you come back up to center, we're going to come into a twist one more time. So any position with the legs, maybe something different than you did last time. 2 to each side. One hand beside or behind, one hand onto the thigh, gently turning, coming out, over to the other side. One more time. And last one. All right, our final chest opener for our practice today is a variation on a pose called Brook. So I'll demonstrate this with using a blanket that I've just folded fairly thin, so it'll be very mild back bend. But I'll also show a variation with a chip block. If you know this pose and you like a deeper back bend, you could use a bolster or more height of some sort. So easiest way to come into this lower level is to come onto your side so that the center of the prop is centered with the rib cage. And I'll roll myself back, supporting my head if I need to. I didn't quite make it in a straight line, so I'll just adjust. I want to be centered on the roll or the folded blanket. For this pose as well, we're going to keep our knees bent, feet on the floor. So I'll rest here with the head on the floor, or I might need some support underneath the head or the neck. If that's a comfortable variation for you, feel free to stay. If you'd like to try another variation, a little more height, switch it up. So I'll show this version with the chip block. A little harder to do from the sideline, so I'll come from this position, first coming down onto my elbows, keeping my chin towards my chest, and then lining up the edge of the block with the base of the ribs, using the hands underneath the head to help the head come down to the floor, or again, onto some other support. Again, knees bent, feet on the floor, and arms anywhere that's comfortable. And depending on what you're lying on, that might make a difference as well as to where the arms will rest. So when you get there, breath in, let it go to the side. See if you can allow your body to surrender here. If there's too much sensation, you might have to shift to a smaller or softer prop. Last breath here. We are in a back bend, so we want to make sure that as we come out, neck and low back are supported. So I'm going to bring both of my hands to the back of the head, gently lift the head up partly so that my hands can get underneath, and then I'll roll onto my side, and then gently bring myself up. So take the next maybe 10 breaths to see if there's anything else that the body needs or wants to do before we come into relaxation. Sometimes after the back bend, especially if you decided to do a deeper version, you'll want to do some sort of counter movement, rounding the body in the other direction. Few more breaths to let any other movements happen. And then find your way into relaxation, whatever that looks like for you. Adding support under the knees to help the legs and the low back relax. Adding layers to keep you warm. If you think you might cool down, support under the head. We'll start our relaxation with a guided walkthrough, and then we'll have a few moments of silence before we close. So letting any wiggles out, getting everything into place. Let a breath in and let it go. Feel your whole body settling to the earth. Relax your feet, toes and ankles. Relax your lower legs, knees and upper legs. Relax your hips, buttocks, low back, middle back, and upper back. Relax your belly and your chest. Fingers and thumbs, palms of hands, wrists, lower arms, elbows, upper arms and shoulders. Relax your neck and your throat, your scalp, forehead, eyes, nose, tongue, upper and lower jaw. Relax deep into the center of your body and let that relaxation radiate outwards to the very outer edges of your skin. Let your whole body relax. Anytime you get pulled away, kindly and gently bring yourself back. Back to the body relaxing. Back to the breath gently coming in and out. Let your breath begin to deepen. Let your body start to move. Wiggle fingers and toes. Stretch big or bring the knees into the chest for a hug. When you feel ready, let that movement bring you up to a comfortable seated position, whatever that looks like for you. And when you find your way to seated, let your hands come to heart center, the symbolic part of yoga. You can bring some heat into the hands first if you like. Palms turned inward. Pause and thank yourself for having this practice today, for moving your body, for pausing, for breathing. Perhaps sending a thank you outwards as well to anyone or even anything that helped you to be on your mat today. And thank you so much for sharing this time with me, and I look forward to practicing with you again.